Question: Can you gather up recent information on Trump's remarks on Gaza, specifically on removing the Palestinians and turning it into the Riviera of the Middle East? ChatGPT said, President Donald Trump has recently proposed a plan to transform the Gaza Strip into the Riviera of the Middle East by relocating its Palestinian residents to neighboring countries and taking control of the area. This proposal has sparked significant international controversy and opposition. Key aspects of Trump's proposal: relocation of Palestinian residents. Trump suggests that the approximately 2 million Palestinians currently residing in Gaza be resettled in neighboring countries such as Egypt and Jordan. He asserts that this relocation would provide them with much better housing and improve their living conditions. U.S. control over Gaza. The plan includes the United States taking control of Gaza with the aim of redeveloping it into a prosperous region akin to the French Riviera. Trump has expressed a willingness to involve U.S. military forces if necessary to facilitate this transition. International reactions: opposition from neighboring countries. Both Egypt and Jordan have rejected the proposal. Egypt plans to present its own reconstruction plan for Gaza that does not involve the displacement of Palestinians. Jordan's King Abdullah II has expressed opposition to the idea of permanently resettling Palestinians from Gaza in Jordan. Criticism from the United Nations. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has criticized the plan, labeling it as ethnic cleansing. Support from Israel. Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, have expressed support for the U.S. taking control of Gaza and relocating its residents. Current status: as of February 12, 2025, the proposal remains highly contentious. While some Israeli officials support the plan, neighboring countries and international organizations have largely opposed it. The situation continues to evolve, with ongoing discussions and negotiations among the involved parties. Question: What are the potential drawbacks to America with this proposed policy? Potential drawbacks for the U.S. international backlash: alienating allies. Many countries, including Egypt, Jordan, and others in the Arab world, have opposed such a drastic change as it disregards the sovereignty and rights of Palestinians. This could strain U.S. relationships with key allies and lead to greater instability in the Middle East. United Nations and global rejection. The proposal has been criticized by the UN, human rights organizations, and many in the international community for potentially leading to ethnic cleansing and disregarding Palestinian rights. This could damage America's global reputation, especially regarding its commitment to human rights and international law. Escalation of conflict, fueling hostility. Instead of fostering peace, this plan could exacerbate tensions between Israel and Palestine, as well as between the U.S. and various Arab nations. It might increase the perception of the U.S. as biased toward Israeli interests and provoke resistance from Palestinian groups, leading to further unrest in the region. Humanitarian crisis. The relocation of millions of Palestinians could cause a humanitarian crisis in the short term, with large-scale displacement, potential loss of life, and resistance from local populations. This could lead to criticism of U.S. policy on a moral and humanitarian level. Long-term economic costs. Heavy investment in reconstruction. The cost of rebuilding Gaza and transforming it into a global tourist destination could be massive. U.S. taxpayers may be asked to fund such a venture, which could have negative economic consequences, especially if the results fail to meet expectations. Uncertainty and risk. The economic potential of transforming Gaza into a Riviera of the Middle East is speculative. The region is prone to instability, and a large-scale redevelopment could be difficult to sustain. If the project fails or faces resistance, it could lead to financial losses for U.S. investors and businesses involved. Domestic backlash, political polarization. The proposal could be highly divisive domestically, especially among voters who view the U.S. as interfering in the sovereignty of other nations or opposing policies that favor Palestinians. This could hurt Trump's political standing in the U.S., especially with the growing progressive movement and pro-Palestinian advocates. Legal and ethical concerns. Violation of international law. The idea of forcibly relocating a population based on nationality or ethnicity raises ethical and legal questions, particularly regarding the right of Palestinians to remain in their homeland. It could be seen as a violation of international law and human rights principles. U.S. values. Trump's proposal could run counter to American democratic ideals, such as self-determination and respect for human rights. If the U.S. were seen as complicit in what could be considered a form of ethnic cleansing, it could have long-term consequences for the moral authority of American foreign policy. Conclusion: would it benefit America? While Trump's proposal might offer short-term strategic advantages, such as strengthening ties with Israel and potentially creating economic opportunities, the long-term risks far outweigh the potential benefits. Global reputation. The U.S. risks alienating its allies, damaging its standing in the international community, and facing global condemnation for supporting a plan that could be seen as unjust and inhumane. Escalation of conflict. This proposal could escalate the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and spark further violence and instability in the Middle East, ultimately making the region more volatile and dangerous for U.S. interests. Economic burdens. The financial costs associated with such an ambitious and controversial project could prove to be unsustainable, especially if it leads to failure or backlash. In conclusion, while the U.S. might gain temporary geopolitical leverage by aligning with Israel on this issue, the costs in terms of international relations, human rights, and domestic opinion are likely to make this proposal more harmful than beneficial in the long run. The negative consequences of this plan could far outweigh any benefits for the United States. Given Trump's background in business ventures, would you suspect him to use this plan to further his own financial gains, and would this present a conflict of interest? ChatGPT said, "It is entirely plausible to suspect that Trump, given his background in business ventures, might see opportunities for personal or business gain in a plan like this, especially if the U.S. were to take control of Gaza and begin redevelopment. Here are some factors to consider when evaluating whether this would present a conflict of interest." Conclusion: conflict of interest and financial gains. Given Trump's business background, there is a reasonable concern that the Gaza redevelopment plan could be used as an opportunity for personal financial gain, either directly through his own businesses or indirectly through business partners and associates. Such involvement would likely raise significant conflict of interest concerns, particularly regarding how U.S. foreign policy decisions might be influenced by personal financial considerations. There would likely be ethical, legal, and political challenges to any plan that benefited Trump's businesses, especially considering the transparency and accountability required in such a high-profile situation. The perception or reality of financial self-interest could overshadow the merits of the policy, leading to domestic and international scrutiny. Thus, while Trump's business instincts might drive him to see an opportunity in such a plan, it is highly likely that conflict of interest issues would arise, potentially undermining both the success of the project and his credibility in the long term. Question: can you find the quote about Gaza by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner? ChatGPT said, Jared Kushner, former President Donald Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, has previously discussed the potential of Gaza's waterfront property. In February 2024, during an event at Harvard's Middle East Initiative, Kushner remarked, "Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable if people would focus on building up livelihoods." He also suggested that moving inhabitants out could facilitate the development of the area. These comments align with President Trump's recent proposal to transform Gaza into an international beach resort under U.S. control, a vision that has drawn both support and criticism. Question: given this information, would you suspect Trump's proposed policies in Gaza is coincidence, or could there be an ulterior motive? ChatGPT said, given the context of Jared Kushner's remarks about Gaza, combined with Trump's proposed policies, it does raise reasonable suspicions about the potential ulterior motives behind these proposals, beyond just geopolitics or peace building. There are a few factors that would make it hard to dismiss the idea that the plan could be more than just a strategic or diplomatic move. 1. Focus on Gaza's waterfront property. Kushner's comment on property. The fact that Kushner, in a significant public remark, highlighted the waterfront property of Gaza and its potential value as a tourist destination is a major clue. When Kushner, who is deeply involved in Trump's business background, talks about Gaza in terms of real estate value, rather than purely humanitarian or political terms, it suggests that he, and potentially Trump, sees financial opportunity in the region. This emphasis on economic development and real estate potential for an area like Gaza, one of the world's most densely populated and impoverished regions, raises questions about whether these policy ideas are intended to rebuild Gaza for peace, or if there's a focus on creating an investment opportunity. 2. Trump's business background and motivations. Trump has long been criticized for blending his business interests with his political career. His career has been driven by real estate and large-scale developments, and his previous presidency already saw criticism for potential conflicts of interest. If the U.S. were to control Gaza and its redevelopment, Trump's real estate businesses or those with close ties to him might benefit financially from development contracts, infrastructure projects, tourism, or partnerships. The idea of transforming Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East is consistent with Trump's business mentality, which often seeks to rebrand or transform struggling areas into profitable enterprises. 3. The redevelopment plan and financial interests. Massive infrastructure projects. Any large-scale redevelopment plan for Gaza would require substantial investment in infrastructure, hotels, resorts, and commercial properties. U.S. companies, including Trump's, could potentially win contracts or partnerships in this development. If Trump or his associates have interests in construction, tourism, or real estate, it would be hard to ignore the financial incentives that could be tied to such a plan. There could be a possibility that the redevelopment would attract foreign investors from countries where Trump has business ties, such as the Middle East or other regions, which could benefit his financial interests. 4. Historical ties to Middle Eastern investors. During his time in office and even before, Trump's businesses have been involved with Middle Eastern investors, and his family has received investment from them. If Gaza were to be redeveloped, there is a strong likelihood that Trump's businesses could benefit from partnerships with investors from the Gulf or elsewhere, who might be eager to be involved in the redevelopment of a region with so much real estate potential. This could be a way for Trump to capitalize on international business connections while simultaneously promoting policies that align with his foreign policy. 5. The peace argument versus financial motivation. On the surface, Trump's plan to transform Gaza could be sold as a peace initiative or an attempt to stabilize the region. However, the underlying motive might be to profit from the redevelopment itself, rather than solely focusing on achieving peace or supporting the local population. Given the historical precedent of Trump using his political platform to benefit his business ventures, as seen with the Trump Organization during his presidency, this is a plausible concern. Additionally, considering the extreme difficulty of executing such a plan in an area with so much political unrest and entrenched conflict, it raises doubts about whether the primary goal is to improve the lives of Palestinians or if it's to generate economic opportunities for U.S. businesses, including his own. 6. Public perception and ethical concerns. If Trump's policies were to result in financial gains for his businesses, directly or indirectly, it could cause ethical concerns. Public and international criticism could emerge, questioning whether the policies were designed to further his personal wealth rather than being motivated purely by the need for peace or regional stability. The appearance of self-interest could undermine the legitimacy of the policies, and both domestic and international audiences could view them as an abuse of power, turning a politically and socially sensitive issue into an opportunity for personal financial gain. Conclusion: coincidence or ulterior motive? It seems unlikely that these proposals are a coincidence, especially when we consider Kushner's comments about Gaza's waterfront properties suggest an eye toward its real estate potential. Trump's business history of seeking profitable ventures and capitalizing on redevelopment opportunities further points to financial motivations potentially driving the policies. The political and ethical risks of such a plan would likely be outweighed by the opportunity to reap financial benefits from a large-scale redevelopment project. While the official narrative might emphasize peace building and stability, the substantial financial opportunities in the region could make it a highly attractive business prospect for Trump and his associates. Therefore, ulterior motives related to personal financial gain cannot be dismissed and might indeed be playing a significant role in shaping the proposals for Gaza. If you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below this video, and we will be back with more content soon. Thanks for watching, and remember, down with Big Brother.